Yay! I think we are live now.
Awesome.
Excellent. So, Holly, this is our chat. So I did one about to go with Alexis and Jodie. I don't know if you managed to get the replay or.
I haven't done yet. It's on my list of things to do.
So, have you found that this November, is like October, November, and it's just getting more and more busy the closer it gets to the end of the year? It's like crazy.
Yes.
Are you doing Nano?
Yes, I am. Yeah, my busyness is completely self-inflicted because I decided to launch 4 books in 8 weeks over October, November, and do Nano. And then there's Indie Fire happening.
I was asking about, but I'm just going to replay back to we did Alexis and Jodie last week.
Yeah,
because there is some big news going on with them too as well at the moment. And I thought, I tell people that is available to watch as well. Alexis today is her book launch for A Heart of Salt and Silver, so that's come out today. Yay! I have actually pre-ordered it. I'm not very good at doing pre-orders. I always miss the launch and then buy the book after. So I'm really excited about actually getting a pre-order.
Yeah.
I supported my local bookshop. I found out that you can email them the book they want, and they deliver it to my doorstep because I've got COVID, so I don't even have to leave my house.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So definitely check out what your local bookshops are doing because they might be doing little groovy deals like that, which are fantastic. And the other big news was with Jodie on the 9th of November, which I know is in a few days' time. It's her book's birthday. It's going to be a 1-year-old for Sorceress of Truth. And that does bring me on to what I was going to ask you about with Curtain. I'm pretty sure I noticed that your whole series was out first. Am I right in thinking that? A box set.
Yeah.
How did you end up with a box set before you had a single book?
Well, no, the other books, the books were released individually under different titles. So they were already out in the world. But I knew I wanted to rebrand. So last summer, sort of 14 months ago-ish, I put out the box set with the new individual titles, but just the one cover for the whole series, because that was a fairly economical way to do the relaunch. But I knew I wanted to put them all out individually as well with new covers and the works. And so that was the big project for this year. So, yeah.
And is it all done now or is it still gradually more stuff?
It's ongoing. So those 3 up there behind me are out, and the 4th one comes out on the 9th of November.
They do look absolutely gorgeous. I love the covers. I saw them, the first one I saw, I thought, oh wow, I love that cover because I do like shifters, and she looks kind of like, I don't know if you watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but she looks a little bit like Faith. And she's my favourite Slayer.
Brilliant.
And good.
Yes. Oh, I've just unplugged my headphones. Sorry, bear with me a second. Oh no. Oh no.
You back?
Here we go. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. There we go. It's the joys of live.
I know. Authors weren't designed to do the whole social media thing, and then we're launched into it, aren't we? Because it's the way to do. We'll just catch up with the rest of the world.
Yeah, and it's great that all this technology exists and that we can keep in touch with people even if we can't see people at the moment. And
And I also find that writers are quite recluse, most of us, aren't we? We kind of hide away from the world, and social media has managed to bring us back together. Not bring us back together, but enable us to connect with each other. And Nano Remake is another thing that connects us all, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit.
If I went on Goodreads and I looked up one of the titles of Shifters of Curtain, there would be now 3 editions with different covers.
Yes-ish. I mean, Goodreads are a bit difficult sometimes. Not all of my books show up. They haven't all been linked and connected properly. But yes, in theory, you would, if you searched for Fate of the Blue Moon, which is the first in the series, you would see that book. If you search Shifters of Curtain, you should get all of the individual books and the box set. And yeah, I mean, the old versions are there, they're connected, so like they show up underneath, like you scroll down Goodreads a bit and they have the little thumbnails of the previous versions as well. So
yeah, it's kind of quite cool because it's almost like you got like the people who got the originals, your very first fans, have now got like a collector's edition, haven't they? Really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, quite limited edition.
Yeah.
But
I do love the new covers. She does look really like quite kick-ass. So, and that leads me on to the other bit to talk about a little bit more about Shifters, because I love Shifters, which is what my series is about. I haven't just stuck to, I think the mainstream Shifters, we're going to call them mainstream, are the werewolves, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not the only type of Shifters around. And I was wondering, have you got werewolves in your Shifter series, or did you go for something different?
It's a whole sort of combination. So in my world, your shapeshifters are given a form by the goddess Artemis, and it depends what phase of the moon they change under for the first time as to what form they get. So those that change under a full moon, obviously, are wolves. But then there's also foxes, cats, badgers, and owls as well.
Oh, I want to be a fox shifter. Do we get special powers for being different types of shifters, or are they all? Oh, well, what do I get?
Well, the new moon shifters who get the fox form, they're extra stealthy and sneaky. They get the ability to like suppress their scent so that they can't be tracked as easily. And like half moon shifters are really they take the owl form, and they're very like wise. They tend to be sort of like good judges of character. They can tell when someone's lying or not. So their abilities kind of match their like animal form.
Yeah, I really love owls as well because I'm a big fan of Labyrinth movie. Have you seen?
Oh, yeah. I love Labyrinth.
When I was heavily pregnant with my son, I booked my husband to go on a falconry day at this park, and I don't know how it was a Groupon thing, so it was like 30 quid. And I got to hold all these big birds of prey for like 30 pounds. It was amazing. I was really, really heavily pregnant. I'm talking like 8.5 months pregnant with owls and falcons and all sorts on my arm. It's amazing. I've got some awesome pictures somewhere. But yeah, I kind of like said it was for my husband's birthday, but it was sort of also because I wanted to go see the owls.
Nice.
So thinking about your shifters, which one would you most like to be? Which one do you think's most you?
New moon.
New moon. So
fox.
Oh, fox. Sorry.
Fox. Yeah. Although maybe also the gibbous moon is the cat, and yeah, that would be. I'm very much a cat person, so it's a fine line.
They're all fabulous. I wouldn't mind. I honestly wouldn't be disappointed if I got to be any of those. They all sound incredible. How do people become a shifter in your world?
So it's genetic, basically. I mean, I don't try and make it scientific, really.
You walk down some dodgy dark alleys to get attacked.
No, people don't get bitten and become shifters or anything. It's in the blood. So, So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of backstory that gradually unfolds over the course of the series about my main character, Ariana, her parentage and where she came from and everything. And there's a lot of emphasis in the story about protecting your human family, and children before they become shifters are quite vulnerable, because they're just fragile humans. But they can be put in the line of some quite violent stuff. So
yeah, I imagine that if talking like a tactical warlord of a shifter generation, that perhaps would go after the children before they've come into their powers, because that's when they're most vulnerable. Not that I would do anything nasty, but I can see where the logic would come from if you were a warlord.
Yeah.
So it sounds really, really good. Where did you get the idea for it?
The base origins are some friends and I played a role-playing game about werewolves, and that it was a very intense experience. Let's put it like that. We played this game for about 18 months, meeting up once or twice a week, every week, with basically no break. And it was just this one epic story. And that became the bones of my series. But I completely recreated the world, obviously, for copyright reasons.
Did you write this novel to prove a point?
Kinda. It was more that the story really affected me on quite a personal level, and I was really invested in the characters, and I felt like I had to write it down and share it. So, I mean, it changed a lot. The world is completely different. The characters took on a new, new life, and the story evolved. So it doesn't bear that much resemblance to what we played originally, but that was the spark.
I think a lot of people do find inspiration in other art. So it could be watching a movie and the story, the plot of the movie doesn't go the way you imagined it would, and then that sparks your own story. It can even be something as simple as somebody says some phrase or something in a coffee shop or something, and then your mind starts making a whole story to come up. So I think that is quite a lot. Some people even see a photo or a painting and it just sets something off, like, why is that lady standing there in a yellow dress? And then suddenly there's a whole novel to go with it.
Yes.
And that I can see how that could happen with a role-playing game. I think there's probably writers who've been inspired by computer games and all sorts, because once you, especially that sort of environment, you get into the zone of that character, you're being them, aren't you? And
yes.
And what a great way to start writing a novel when you've been the character.
Yeah. And it's, obviously I still kind of see my friends as the characters that they played. And, my other half is one of the characters. And, we, between the two of us, we joke about how he is Eyes. And, as I was writing the book, sometimes I'd be like, what would Eyes do in this situation? And he would give me the answer because he knew the character better than I did. So, yeah.
I'm sure he's mentioned in the acknowledgements for his eyes. Yeah. So you said about Artemis. Is that the Greek goddess?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're quite into all that?
Yes, very much so. I, in a former life, my degree is in religious studies, because I've always been obsessed with mythology and ancient religions, and how all around the world, all of these belief systems kind of mirror each other, and humanity is kind of all around the world come up with the same sort of ideas, the same answers to the same questions. So, I'm really, really into mythology, and so I needed to include it. It just sort of called to me, really. So there's loads of Greek mythology in there. There's also Norse mythology and Egyptian mythology, a bit of Celtic mythology. It's all in there as this kind of mishmash of ideas.
Wow, you really did put your degree to work there, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know that this isn't the only book you've written either, is it? You've also done your goal setting one, which I can see a little bit in the that the right way, but the camera's doing my finger.
I know, it's like, am I mirrored? What's going on? Yeah.
Yes. I'm a bit confused by it. So you are quite good at setting yourself goals. I mean, you managed to get 8 novels out this year, or you will have by the end of the year. Do you want to tell us a bit about like how the book works?
So it's a roadmap to creating the right goals for you. So I'm very much in favor of being flexible and finding what works for the individual. So it's not really prescriptive. It's kind of, here is a system, but find what works for you. And the key thing for me is to look at where you are in your life now and how much time you have and what's realistic for yourself, and to set SMART goals. which are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And yeah, so it's a kind of guide to using the SMART goal system to set the right goals for you.
Yeah, I have heard of the SMART goal system, but I've never heard anyone say about the bit you said at the beginning about how you have to make it, well, it's basically the R, isn't it? The realistic for you. And I think people lose sight of that because they'll hear someone saying, oh, you must write 2 hours every day, or you must do this. And it almost like it beats them up, because if they haven't got the capacity in their life to do that, then they think that they've already failed before they've started. And that's just not realistic. So I'm really glad that you said about that, because that's something that I often hear people go, oh, well, I can't write. And I'm like, I'm lucky if I get an hour a day to write. So if I had that mentality, I never would have finished my novel. But every hour adds up. So you can get those goals. It just might be a bit longer than somebody else who has more time to do it.
Exactly. It's about using every part of the acronym really to apply to your own life. So the most important thing is to be specific. I think the main way that people fail to meet their goals is that they're not specific enough when they set them. So someone might set the goal, I'm going to write a book. Well, like how? Like that's too broad, too vague. You need to get really specific. What kind of book? What kind of length? What's your plan for writing it? When are you going to fit the hours in? And yeah, I think the more specific you are, the better chance you have of achieving it.
I think you're right on that bit about the length, because if you know how long your goal is going to be, you can then split it into smaller goals that like milestones along the way on the big goal.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the book, I kind of walk you through kind of from the big picture down to the granular day-to-day task list. So the idea is you start with your big dream, your big goal, which may be bigger than one book. It might be to earn a living as an author, and again, get specific. So how much money is that? Is that 20 grand a year, 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year? What's your income goal? Or if it's not money that motivates you, then maybe it's to write 4 books a year, or to have the freedom to leave the day job, or whatever it is, whatever your kind of big lifestyle goal is. Start there and then figure out how you're going to get there. And that's why I kind of based the book around this idea of a map, because I think that's quite a powerful image that we can all relate to. And having, so you create a map, you write yourself a list of directions of how you're going to reach your destination. And and that, being not just that everything is relevant to you, but that it's, it stays relevant. So you keep checking in regularly throughout the year or over the years to make sure that it's still what you want, and not clinging on to something that maybe you've outgrown.
Yeah, I try to check in on my own goals every month, but like I do a big check-in like every 3 months. I do it like quarterly, because I do it for the solstices and the equinox. It's like just sort of like a thing that sticks out, and I just go and check on how I'm doing. And I have found that there's been occasions where I've realized I haven't met my goal, but that's because my destination, I like your map idea, has changed. I'm not going in that direction anymore. So for a long time, I was trying to get traditionally published. And once I decided that wasn't actually what I was going to do, I was going to indie publish, all those goals changed. If I'd carried on with the original map I wasn't going to end up where I needed to be. So yeah, I think that's brilliant. I like the map idea. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. It's visual.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got to go buy a coffee now. I do think I'm quite good at goal setting, but I'm a strong believer that you can always improve and get better at things. And it sounds like your guide would help make me a little bit more efficient, which is good.
Yeah, I think you can always learn something, even if it's, even if the whole system isn't right. If you can pick out 1 or 2 things that you can then apply to what you've already got and is already working, then my job is done.
Yeah. So you'd said you're doing Nano. Have you used any of your goal setting guides to help you plan how you're going to tackle that one?
No, not so much, because I'm kind of fairly old hand at Nano now, and I kind of know what I'm doing. And also, I changed my mind about what I was writing, like on Halloween.
Nothing spooky happened though.
No, it's just I was working on. I've been working on for like most of this year, a sort of sequel spin-off novel from the Shifters of Curtain, and I've been really stuck with it, and I didn't want to admit that I was stuck, and I was trying to make it work, and eventually I was like, do you know what, I really need help with this. So a friend of mine, Meg Jolly, she's going into author coaching, and she's agreed to give me some coaching on this book, but she's not available right away. So I was like, well, I need to write something in Nano. I really want to participate. I really want to write something. So what can I write instead? And I have another book, another series, which it's set in the same world as Shifters of Curtain, but it's all different characters. It's in a different city, different emphasis. And the first book in that series came out last year, and I kind of parked it, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it, but I've decided to write the second book in that series. So that's what I'm working on now.
Oh, brilliant. So the one you got stuck on, is that like a spin-off from the main series, something a little bit different?
Yeah, it's set sort of 15 years later. It's kind of like the next generation. It starts
if it happens.
Yeah, the book starts immediately after the end of book 4 in the series, but then there's going to be a time jump. But that's why I'm stuck on it, because I'm trying to figure out how to make these pieces fit together and what the core of the story is that I want to tell, because I kind of ended up going off on this tangent and getting distracted, and it's just...
At least you've admitted it, because there might be other people out there that have had the same thing, where they are like stubbornly holding on to the story, like, I am going to write this, but it's just not working. And sometimes you do just have to say, right, I need to park this book, work on something that is I'm feeling right now. And I'm sure you'll come back to it, maybe with Meg's coaching, and you'll get back on, you'll figure out what's wrong with it, and you'll flow.
Yeah.
So do you do plotting or pantsing?
Well, I hate that term, but I'm a discovery writer, is how I prefer to describe myself.
I saw you put an Instagram post where you said discovery writer, and I really like the term, but I'd never heard it before. So do you mind just explaining it for everyone?
Yeah, so the phrase Panzer, I can't help it. It's horrible. It just makes me think of wedgies. I'm sorry, but that's what it means to me.
We're not going to take you back to that horrible place. Let's go back to discovery.
Yeah. So I'm a discovery writer. So I usually start a book with basically just a premise, just an idea, and just start writing and see what evolves. And I will write things down as I go. And I have, for Shifters of Curtain, I have a very detailed world notebook or Bible. And I will, I'll write down kind of I use a 7-point story structure system, which I will start to write down as I start writing, and the story starts to make itself known to me. So usually by the time I'm about a quarter of the way through, I know roughly how it's going to go. But no, I don't sit down and plan in great detail, chapter by chapter or beat by beat. I just see what happens.
I have tried to get better at my plotting, so I do beat by beat. I really like Save the Cat, but I wrote my first book, Ocean Heart, I did pants my whole way through, but it just I got gripped by the story idea, and I just had to write it. There was no, I wasn't even taking myself seriously as this was going to be a novel. I was just writing a story, and I just couldn't stop writing it. So just it poured out. It was really good, but the mess at the end of it all, oh my God, I spent years fixing the mess, because it was what NaNoWriMo really should be. If I'd done that in November, I would have hit that Nano girl. It's just all spewed onto the page, all this stuff. And then I spent years fixing it. So I don't want to spend years fixing book 2. So I have done a little bit more planning, because I know some people like editing. I don't. I absolutely hate it. I absolutely love my editor, Avery. She is so good. I don't know how she can look at that awful manuscript and make it shine the way she does. But I do. I really, really. All editors out there, love them. Fantastic. If anyone said, "What's your number one tip?" I'd be like, "Get an editor."
Get an editor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I do think you can't see your own mistakes as well, and but I couldn't afford an editor for ages, so I did have to just keep. And I'm my worst critic. Even now, I don't want to look at my novel because I think I will find mistakes, and I'll like.
Yeah, and you know, you have to. Perfectionism is a real curse because nothing will ever be perfect, and I think you have to be able to draw a line and just say, no, that's good enough. And that can be really hard for a lot of writers to do. And the temptation to keep going back and keep tinkering and tweaking things is really great.
Yeah. Okay. Talking about great advice, you've got a special event coming up at the end of November. Is it the 28th of November? If I remember right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going.
Oh my God.
I think it's brilliant. Do you mind just telling everyone what is going on? What is Indie Fire?
Okay, so I co-host a podcast with Angeline Trevina. It's the Unstoppable Authors podcast. And for some reason, last year we thought, let's create a conference for writers.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I missed last year's though. I must admit, I didn't know it was happening. I'm looking forward to this year's.
This is the first one. So we came up with the idea last summer after going to Edge Lit, which is a sort of horror writers convention, and we decided it's a fantastic event, but it's very focused on traditional publishing. There's really no advice for indie authors at all. They sort of pretend that we don't exist. So, you know, we kind of came away from it going, we could do something a bit like this, but a bit different, more for our people. So we started planning it last summer, so July 2019, and we booked a venue. We were selling tickets. We had our guest authors lined up. Everything was going great for it being held in May this year. So we had to postpone. Yeah. Even like when lockdown was first announced, we were like,
there's going to be a deadly virus.
Yeah, if lockdown gets lifted by the end of May, we're fine. Yeah. But obviously that didn't happen, so we postponed it to November. But again, you know, we could see the signs. We knew what was going on. You know, in September, we were like, okay, we will do it online instead.
I think that was a really good decision, considering it's happened, hasn't it? I literally would come out of lockdown on the 3rd of December, but I've got a really bad feeling that they're going to just extend it because, I don't know.
Because they can.
I don't want to be the negative psychic. But I do think it is fantastic that you put it online. I saw the tickets are £20, which I actually think that for what you get for that ticket, that is a really good price, because if I went to a writers' conference, like just to see one guest speaker, maybe doing a workshop on something, because there's a lot of workshops included in that £20. If I went to just do one, you could end up spending like £250, £300 for a one-day workshop at some places. So I think
easily
the value for money, that £20, you've brought all these people together for this indie festival. I know there's probably a chance that they'll also try to sell things, like if you like what I've done in my workshop, there's more. Which I don't blame them. I mean, they do that. The ones you pay more money for the workshop, they do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is fantastic. And I recognise some of the names that are going to be there. Obviously, I recognised you, and I recognise I can't say her name now. Angeline. Angeline. I don't want to upset her. Angeline. And I've been looking at her books for so long. Like, the problem is she's got several world building books, hasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one to pick. So I'm hoping that during her workshop, I will find the answer.
Yeah. She does have a box set now of all 3 that you can get as an ebook.
My husband is saying, what do I need for Christmas? World building box set.
But if you want them in print, you have to get them separately, unfortunately.
I do want them in print, so I'm going to have to get them separately. Oh, I thought you meant a box set of them all in print.
No,
I do.
just digital.
When I do like ebooks, but when it comes to like working on something, I guess it's that whole school feeling. I need a physical book to look at and flick back through pages and stuff. So yeah, I definitely will want the physical book. I also thought that Sacha Black's going to be there. She's quite a big name. 10 Steps to Evil. I don't know if that's but I know that's one of her big books. But I didn't buy that one. I bought her book, 10 Steps to Hero, because I wanted to get better. That was my goal for October, was work on improving my protagonist. So hopefully the I've soaked up from there is going to help me develop as a writer. Am I right in thinking Michelle's there? Michelle
Raab, yeah. She's no. What am I saying? No, she's not. What am I thinking of? No, I'm interviewing her. That's where I'm getting confused. I'm interviewing her for one of my podcasts. No, our other guest authors. So Sacha she was going to be providing a workshop, but unfortunately she's had to withdraw from that for health reasons. But she's going to be one of our panelists on. We have a panel on story structure. So Sacha will be speaking on that panel. But we have workshops from Meg Jolly, Daniel Wilcox, Ken Preston, who is a fantastic horror writer, and he's doing a workshop on how to write fast even when you don't want to write at all.
At the start of November, not the end of November.
I'll be there at his workshop. Who else have we got? We've got Duncan Bradshaw. He's doing a workshop on how to write weird genre fiction. Dan's is on collaboration. Meg's is on how to make a living as an author. I'm doing a workshop on goal setting. Angeline's doing a workshop on world building. We have Dion, who is an amazing editor. He's doing a workshop on how to work with an editor and maximize that relationship. We've got one more. What's the other one? Oh no, someone's going to be mad at me.
No, I'm sure they won't get mad. We just need people to go check out your website, don't they? IndieFire or the latest book. And there is just so much for 20 quid. And the other thing is, I sometimes I think you had the same problem earlier with the kids going crazy around you. Sometimes it's fantastic that I don't have to leave my house to go to this festival. There's no car parking, there's no commute, it's in my front room. But sometimes the kids drive me nuts. But you can watch it all back later, can't you?
Yes, it's almost all of it. Yeah, we've got 3 live workshops on the 28th, which at the moment they're not going to be replayable, but we'll see what we can do about that later. But most of the sessions, we've got these panel sessions, story structure, time management, mindset and marketing, and they will all be replayable. And we've got fantastic experts from the industry who are all going to be sharing their expertise on those panels. And most of the workshops, as I say, they'll be replayable as well. So for the price of the ticket, you get lifetime access to all of that.
I really think that's brilliant value for money. I hope people don't miss out. I hope they go buy their tickets and get in on that one, because it is definitely something like, I don't know. It's not really that much. It's like buying 2 books, but you're getting all this content for 20 quid. I think that's really impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So was there anything else that I needed to speak to you about? Let me just check. There were two more things I was going to ask you. One was Shifters a Curtain. Right, okay, back to that one. I missed this. It's set in the real world, am I right?
More or less.
Yeah, my series is set in the real world, and sometimes that can be tricky to make it work. Did you have any struggles with getting it to work?
No, I've just consumed so many stories, like Buffy. You mentioned I'm a huge Buffy fan, and things like True Blood, the TV series.
Love that as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the original books as well, the Southern Vampire Mysteries, and just all that kind of thing, where you've got this supernatural world that's hidden from humanity, and so that just sort of came automatically to me. It's just in my storytelling DNA, I think. So I considered how it would be hidden, how could people not notice, and and I'm exploring that with a new series that I'm going to write next year. It's the Felix Jones series. I wrote some short stories that appeared in a set of anthologies this year that are set in Cairton, but following a human, and the glimpses he gets into the supernatural world and how it affects him and what he decides to do about it. Yeah, so that was a really interesting angle to explore. So I think if that's your setting, just think about it from both sides. Think about, what steps do the supernaturals take to conceal themselves and their world, and what happens to humans who see it. In my world, they tend to go a little bit crazy.
A little bit like that on mine, but there is a reason why that happens. Well, they are dealt with. But it doesn't happen in book one. Book one's quite nice if you want a nice friends to read. Book one. It's a bit darker.
Yeah, none of my books are nice. They're all very dark.
When I said to you, come on, we can talk about shifters. You were like, oh, I don't think mine are nice shifters like yours. I was like, oh no, but I love it. I love shifters in the real world. I think it's I think fantasy in the real world is definitely my favorite. I like contemporary, urban, and historical. Historical's a new one that I found. I didn't know about that, but I like the idea, and that's what I'm working on for Nano. I've got book 2 is my main project for Nano, but when you get stuck and you just can't think of it, I've got a side project as well for Nano, so I can keep the works going, and that's working on a prequel, which is going to be back in the past. But cool. I don't want to make you feel old, but I think you're a similar age to me. But this prequel, when I say it's set in the past, it's the 90s.
Oh, so long ago.
Shocking, isn't it? I have the one that goes even further back, like back to medieval times. But the 90s is historical. It's like Stranger Things retro, isn't it?
Yes, I love Stranger Things. Oh, it's so good.
Because they play role playing.
Yes.
When you were talking about it, I did imagine the kids sitting around the table with their little characters going around. Have you seen Felicia Day?
No.
Do you know Felicia Day? Oh,
I know of her. Yeah.
Well, she did this. I've discovered her when she did this. What's it? The Guild. Sorry, my husband had to give a little shout out what it was called. It's called The Guild. I found it on YouTube, and it was basically sort of like a spoof, like funny, like TV series that was on YouTube, web series. I've been corrected again. About these gamers. So it's like from the side of them like playing on their computer game, and they're all like chatting online, and their lives all kind of in real life get mixed up together. It's really funny, really funny. But now that's all finished, because that was a few years ago. She now also does live streams of her playing role-playing games with like the actors or like friends and stuff like that. So she has a guest. She's a big celebrity now.
Yeah.
Big geeky, which is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Was that? She was in Buffy.
Yeah. She was in season 7. She's one of the potentials.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And then when are you a Firefly fan?
No.
One of Joss Whedon's other things. She wasn't in that, but they names. Alan Tudyk and oh, come on, what's wrong with me? It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, they did this sort of satirical thing called Con Man, and Felicia Day was in that. I just think she's amazing. And she was
Yeah.
in what was it called?
My husband says Supernatural. Was it that?
I don't know if she's in that. Oh, but yeah, she's great. Yeah.
She also has done a book as well, about like how to like be creative.
Embracial Weird.
Yeah, Embracial Weird. It's called. I think my husband should be like joining me on this live right now. It's called Embracial Weird, and my husband bought it for me, and I couldn't get past the third page. It's a really good book, but she encourages you to do really naughty things to books. So she wanted me to she wanted me to cut the page out of the book, and I was like, I will go back to it and try and get through the whole book. But yeah, she encouraged you to do lots of naughty things. So she told me to scribble on a page or something. And I did it, but I did it with pencil so I could rub it out later. When it came to cut the page out, I was like, no, I can't even. I think she's right. I think I need to break the boundaries, but I wasn't quite ready to take it on. I will try again later. I think maybe next year I will embrace my weird. I will get through the book. I will destroy it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's not your usual book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one more thing I wanted to ask you about. That was it. When I was tweeting about this live, I noticed that you have a Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always had a lot of authors that have Patreons. I've never signed up to one. I don't really understand how it works.
Okay, so the principle is like the kind of old-fashioned idea of patronage, how artists would have, wealthy people who would sort of commission work. That's not quite how it works, but that's where the word comes from, Patreon. So people can find creators that they like and basically pledge a regular amount. It's a kind of way of funding that person's creativity. And a lot of creators will create extra things for their patrons. So for example, I write flash fiction, which I post on my Patreon page. It's been a bit stagnant this year, and unfortunately because of the economic consequences of lockdown, I've lost quite a few patrons this year. So I'm kind of like, what do I do with it? How do I reinvigorate this and breathe new life into it? So I'm kind of on a bit of a pause, but it'll come. These things come in waves. So I keep up to date with my patrons on there. They get the first look at new covers and blurbs, and I put polls on there to get their opinions on things. I give them lots and lots of little short stories, flash and microfiction, that gives me a chance to kind of explore my world a bit more and delve into characters' little backstories and stuff. And like really minor characters from the novels, I'll give them a short story to explore a bit more of their life and stuff like that. So yeah,
that's the sort of idea I got from it. I got the feel that they got exclusive content that was just for them. And the only reason I've not really investigated further is I felt that was too much pressure for me to get involved and do a Patreon, because if I've got a sick kid or a crazy week, I do forgive myself and I don't do anything. I'm like,
you got to do what you got to do. Yeah.
With Patreon, I imagine there's a bit of a commitment that you want something on a regular basis.
Yeah, because people are paying you, there is that pressure, I guess, to provide them with something. But what I've found is that the people who decide to pledge are very loyal, and if there have been times where I just haven't been able to create anything, and I'll just put a quick post up saying, I'm really sorry guys, I'm not well, or this is happening, and universally they're absolutely fine with it. They don't mind at all. So if you're attracting the right people and the people who genuinely want to support you, then they'll understand. But it is obviously it's a commitment, and so think carefully before starting one. But yeah, it's nice to have that way of connecting on a deeper level with your fans as well, that you can have a personal relationship with them, which wasn't really possible for writers until now.
No, I do think that is one of the great things about social media. We can do all these different things, and the fact that there are things like Patreon is great, because now you can get a bit of support if people are able to. So that is great. I think I have asked you everything I wanted to on Indie Fire and Shifters Chaos. I'm just checking my notes again to make sure I haven't forgotten something. So is there anything all right to like, should we end it here? Are you happy?
Yeah. It's been really lovely chatting to you.
You too. I'm going to head over to Instagram in a bit, because I think World Indie Warriors on their Instagram account are doing a live stream sprint for Nano. So I might get some work in before I go to bed. I've got time to go make a cup of tea and jump on that.
Yeah, I'm going to join you because I'm a few hundred words short of my target today. So it's,
Oh, brilliant. Cool. I'll see you then, Holly.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.